Hi, this is Tim Campso with Action Coach of Indiana and our Business Spotlight series. The purpose is to interview local businesses and promote them through our social channels and email database as a way to give back, because we know that when all small businesses are strong, the economy is strong. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Chad. Welcome, Chad. It's great to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me on to talk about the agency. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into the business side, let's have you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you personally.
Sure. So my name is Chad Brittian, and I'm born and raised from Indiana, actually north of Indianapolis, about 45 minutes, Gas City area. Went to Mississauga High School. Then after that, I went to Ball State University and moved to Indianapolis after graduating from college, and I've been here ever since. And we are celebrating 11 years in business for the agency, which is NVS Design. And our headquarters is located in Indianapolis at Keystone at the Crossing.
Fantastic. Well, then let's hear a little bit more about your business. This is my favorite question. I ask folks if you had 60-second commercial.
You want my elevator pitch? Is that what you're trying to do?
I would love your elevator pitch, Chad.
We can do that. So NVS Design is a full service advertising, marketing, and graphic design agency. We specialize in SEO, app development, website development. We are a Google ad agency partner in addition to being a Wix agency partner. That's something that we actually just came into this past year. So from the content management side of things, that allows for us to build websites that are more portfolio driven websites, maybe at a lower budget, especially for small businesses with everything that's happened with COVID. That's been really integral to our success because our industry in general has really suffered with COVID. And so we've just found that that's another niche in which we can help other businesses kind of get back on their feet. And surprisingly enough, a lot of people have actually started businesses during this pandemic. So that's helped us open our doors to people that maybe wouldn't have looked at us prior to everything happening. So, but we have been in business for 11 years and we work with all kinds of clientele. We have small business, clientele when it comes to mom and pop type situations, all the way to large luxury brands. We've worked with Adidas, Grey Goose, Red Bull, and we have a lot of great opportunities when it comes to sponsorship, and we do events and things of that nature that we've built over the years that we've been in business. So just get to do a lot of really fun things, get to go to a lot of fun things. At least we did before COVID. So
Right.
Hopefully that'll start to pick back up once things get back to some sense of normality. But definitely a fun industry that's ever changing, and I'm looking forward to the future.
Fantastic. So you mentioned it a little bit, but tell us a little bit in more detail about who's your ideal client. What types of businesses do you serve, or what we call your target audience?
Sure. So it ranges pretty much all over the board. Most of our clientele is small business, and we help them from a branding perspective of logo design, conceptualization, in addition to then actual print marketing materials, different vehicles in which to get that message out, social media, digital marketing, getting them to understand search engine optimization, the importance of that, if there's a possibility for there to be e-commerce, where that makes the most sense, and just kind of try to scale their business in the best way possible. So our expertise over the years definitely helps to guide them in the right direction. And one thing that I always say is we want our clients to feel as though we are an integral part and a partner in their business, not just someone that they've hired. So a lot of the clients over the years that we've had, I've gotten to know personally, and as you can imagine, once again, going back to COVID, it's been a struggle for some of these businesses. So we try to do whatever we can to help keep them afloat. But we definitely enjoy some of the larger contracts too. That opens doors for us to get to do a lot of really fun things in different markets. Our secondary largest market before COVID was in Los Angeles. So from an entertainment perspective, that actually allowed for us to do quite a bit of different things than you can imagine we would get the opportunity to do in the Midwest. So just really opened my eyes to a lot of different things of what was out there, and how much similarities there are between startups and even companies that have been in business, and then the differences, to really capitalize on that and be able to offer the best advice that we can, no matter the size of the company that we're working with.
Fantastic. So you've mentioned COVID a couple times, and I've
unfortunately,
yes, right, and it's clearly the thing in the rearview mirror, and still present today. But what's been the greatest impact that COVID has had on your business over the last year and a half?
I think ultimately, because a lot of the businesses that we work with had unfortunately had to shut down, and they didn't really know when they would be open again, it doesn't really make sense to allocate funds towards marketing a business that, for one, isn't open, and two, if you're in a position that you can't really afford to pay your employees, that's obviously not great either. So I think the focus on advertising and marketing definitely took a backseat because of everything that was happening. And we do a lot in the event space too. So obviously when you can't be around a ton of people, you can't have large events. So we unfortunately had to pull back on that, and that really hurt our revenue stream from that standpoint too. So I'm hoping that this variant's not going to cause things to go backwards. We are seeing some positive light with the vaccinations and the direction that we're going, but there's still, things happening that we are taking a few steps back in some ways too. And I think that from a business mentality perspective, we've seen that we have a lot of interest, more so than we did a few months ago, in potentially marketing businesses. But the problem is I think that people are still a little weary from a business mentality standpoint as to what's going to happen. So they're trying to conserve their funds as best as they can. And that's one hurdle and obstacle that we've really run into as of late. So it is getting better slowly, but I'm just hopeful that we get to a position where people can be more confident in the fact that they're going to be okay to spend money on their business and be successful in that endeavor. And a lot of the grants and the payment protection program, things of that nature, has helped to assist in justification for marketing services, because we are considered a more luxurious service. And not everyone can afford us. So it is nice to be able to pick up some different clients that maybe wouldn't have looked at us prior. And then, like I said before, we really do try to work with everyone to where it's in their best interest, and obviously ours to retain them as a client ongoing and see their success in the future.
Fantastic. So you mentioned marketing being a luxury. So it's interesting that we coach all of our clients on the idea that you have to always be marketing, right? The idea, right, of if you're not growing, you're dying. And if you're not
100%.
marketing, and you're not growing, and then it's more of a question of how to market, not if market.
Right. And it's kind of a never ending cycle. I mean, you definitely have to be cognizant of what your industry is going through from a demographic standpoint, in addition to your competitors. And more now than ever, you have more competition because of the internet. You don't even, you don't have to worry about who's just down the street, but ultimately who's across the country, depending on the service you provide. So it is important, and it's integral to your success ongoing. And I think that's something that we kind of help shed some light on. And we get our clients to take a step back because they know their business. They're looking at it from an owner perspective. They're not looking at it from a client perspective a lot of the time. So it's easy to lose sight of what's important. And your business, but just because you do doesn't mean your potential client does. So we try to get them to take a step back, look at things a little bit differently so that they can be successful ongoing.
Awesome. That's great. So Chad, we've all had to pivot during COVID to figure out a way to survive. What's one action that you guys took to make a difference for your business, and how has that worked for you?
Well, I was fortunate that in growing our business, we didn't really accrue any debt, even in the additional markets that we went into over the years. And I did that strategically. We could have grown much faster and probably put myself in a little bit more risky situation than what we were in going into COVID. But whether it had been COVID or something else, anytime you run a business, you have to prepare for the worst, and something would have happened. Hopefully not to this severity, but we're in this situation now. So it's not really a what if, it happened. So I don't think anyone anticipated a pandemic to take over and cause what it has. But at that same time, I tried to save back as much as I could and prepare, because, I have a lot of people that depend on me also from an employment standpoint. So I want to make sure that I could take care of them and do the things that I needed to pay our bills and just make sure that we stayed afloat. I knew 2020 wouldn't be as hard because we had a lot of contracts and things in place that had been signed, and I was confident that it's like a domino effect, right? So it usually takes 6 months to a year for it to really catch up to most industries, and that's been the case of what we've seen with a lot of our clients in 2021, and pretty much what I had expected. Just because we're not getting people to sign those retainers again, we're not getting people to spend as much because they just don't have the funds, because it's starting to catch up slowly. But I think I've learned, just to take one day at a time, and you can try to prepare for any and everything, but ultimately you just have to be smart and strategic in how you run your business, because as I said, there's always going to be something that's potentially going to put your business at a detriment. So whether it was COVID, it would have been something. So I think that's one thing we've been really good about is, just preparing as best we could to where I didn't have to lay anyone off. We were able to take care of any obligations that we had from a financial standpoint. And we took advantage of the PPP and some grant opportunities that the state of Indiana had to offer in addition to the federal side of things. And that's helped us immensely. So I'm hopeful that'll be enough to get us through until 2022 to get things turned back around is my hope. So we'll see. But like I said, just take it one day at a time and try to be as strategic as I can.
Fantastic. I love what you said about nobody planned for COVID, but you should plan for something. So we recommend, businesses have 6 to 12 months of funds on hand for the just in cases. So I'm so excited for you that you had that in place to be able to get through this. So congratulations on being so proactive there.
Well, thank you. It was something that I knew I had to do regardless, because I never wanted to be put in a position, because I've seen and had several friends that own businesses that were doing great. And then, even not COVID related, something happened and then they weren't in a position to really sustain that. And just because you're doing good for a few months doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. So you have to prepare for the worst. And I think that really allowed for me to be more cognizant and smart on our finances and just hold back a little bit to know, hey, we're going to be okay regardless. And I think that's integral to anyone in business, whether they're in business currently or, obviously they've learned lessons with COVID, but if you're wanting to start a business too, that's something you want to really work towards so you can have a little bit of peace of mind. And it kind of exposed a lot of companies that we thought were doing well that didn't have those funds available even a few months after the fact. And that's just not a way you can operate a business ongoing successfully.
So here's an interesting question, Chad. It's been said that smart people learn from their mistakes and wise people learn from the mistakes of others. So what's a mistake you've made along the way that you'd be willing to share with the audience so that they can learn from your experience?
Just one. Lots of mistakes, definitely lots of mistakes, learning, always constantly learning, growing, changing. I think one thing, unfortunately, I used to take a lot of our clients' words at face value. And my word, as I was always raised, reputation meant a lot. And sometimes in business, it doesn't always work out that way. So we, for probably the first few years, didn't really have concrete contracts in place for the agency. And I fumbled through this a little bit when I first started the business. I didn't really have someone to turn to teach me the tips and tricks. I had gone to college, obviously, but from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I really didn't have someone to guide me. So I had to learn pretty quick. And I learned that contracts are super important. And having that for reference, from a legality side is very important to your success ongoing. And sometimes it's not even that the client's trying to, get one over on you. It's more so that they've obviously got a lot of other vendors. Projects can last for months, even into years. They're not always going to remember things. So having everything documented, I learned really, really quick was super important. And it's literally saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years, just because it's like, well, you did sign a contract and it stated clearly, and you can't really argue with that. So I would say from a business standpoint, no matter what industry you're in, that's definitely one of the most important things that I wish I would have really practiced early on. And I'm glad that we have that in place now.
That is great advice. And to build on that, then the next step is enforce the contract. I talked to a number of folks who say, well, I do have this contract, but I feel bad about asking for payment. And it's like, yeah, but that there are other vendors that are asking for payment, right?
Right. And that's the thing, I've got some agency partners that are having an issue with getting paid from a lot of these clients that they've done work for. And it's like, at least communicate with us. I'm pretty understanding if we need to work out a payment plan or if circumstances have changed. When I said we were an integral part in your business, we meant that. And we've all had a really rough couple of years. So if we don't have that communication, though, I don't know what's going on. And I think that is disrespectful to a certain degree. For one, you're not paying a bill, but second of all, it's like, if we've built that rapport, I feel like the least you can do is be honest about it. And some people, that's a pride thing, and I can understand that to some degree, but at least from our standpoint, I'm willing to work with our clients, and I don't ever want to put them in a bad position. No one anticipated any of this to happen. So we've been really lucky that most of our clientele have paid us. But like I said, some of our agency partners, like they're just sitting there with all these unpaid invoices. And it's like, you're already down in revenue. You can't afford not to be compensated for the work that's been done. So even if you can't get the full amount, you need to push at getting at least some of it because you did the work. It's not that you shouldn't be paid. It's just, some people are in positions that they can't necessarily afford the full amount. But that communication channel, I feel like, is super important. And from a professional standpoint, I would hope that anyone would expect that and obviously appreciate that just quorum when it comes to actual business mentality.
Yeah, I love what you just said about it's just business, right? So don't feel guilty asking for a payment on a contract, right?
Absolutely
not. But I also like what you're saying about being understanding and flexible, right? If there's a hardship, we'll work through it, but don't be afraid to ask for the payment if payment is due, because to your point, it's just business.
Right, and circumstances change, but communication is key, and I think we deal with that in personal lives, obviously, whether it's, friendships, romantically. And I think in businesses, it's really no different. And we get prideful, and especially CEOs, and that's their baby. And anytime that they feel like they're down or out, it can be embarrassing to some people. But I try to make them feel as comfortable as possible to know that, hey, we really are here to stand beside you. And we want you to know that we want to see you succeed. And ultimately, that's our end game. And I think that's why we've done as well as we have to this point, because unfortunately, a lot of agencies, marketing or advertising, have gone out of business during the pandemic. And I'm thankful that we're in a position that I feel like we could thrive from what's happened. We're going to grow and change. And I want to learn from this experience so we can just strengthen the agency and grow into the future.
Fantastic. So Chad, what do you feel is going to be the biggest challenge as you look out over the next 12 months for the business?
I think for sure is getting those contracts signed. We definitely had a lot of interest. We got a lot of proposals out, trying to reassure people that it is a smart business decision, it is a smart investment, and that it is the direction they need to go, that it's integral to their success ongoing. That's really what we're focusing on now. Obviously, within reason, I can't control everything, and to some degree, from their perspective, I absolutely understand where they're coming from. So it is a balance in that respect, but I'm hopeful that we get some more retainers. This last year, we lost quite a few because of the fact of not having that consistent revenue source coming in, for a lot of these businesses, so they can really justify spending that money with us when they had people that needed to be paid or potentially rent that needed to be paid. So trying to be as understanding in that respect too, not push people as much. I found too that people are still very sensitive with everything that's going on, and rightfully so. And I think really showing that we have their best interest at hand is going to help us to be successful in the future.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So second last question here. We've got your contact information. We'll be including that along with this video. But is there anything else that you want to make sure that we covered today?
Just ultimately that we're kind of awesome as an agency. So if you need help or guidance when it comes to marketing, graphic design, digital, pretty much anything when it comes to marketing your business or advertising your business, definitely check us out. Our website's super easy, to envious. So obviously play on words, but number 2, then nvs.com. You can check out a lot of the clients that we work with, past projects that we work with. We do a lot of not-for-profit and charitable events that I'm very proud of. I'm hoping to get more involved in that again once things get back to some sense of normality right, where we can actually be at events to do that and give back. And I'm very optimistic at the future of the agency. We've learned a lot from what's happened. I'm hopeful that things are going to turn around. I'm just excited for the future, and definitely want to be able to help out anyone who will give us the opportunity to let me show them what we can do.
Awesome. So you're kind of awesome. Is that your tagline?
What'd you say? Well, no, it used to be actually on my Instagram. It was VIP only. And then I got so much crap from a lot of the interviews that I did. So I changed that to be a little bit more humble. No, I mean, I definitely believe, obviously, in my team. And I think we're pretty awesome. But obviously, I think our main thing is we just want people to know that we really are in their corner and want to see them succeed. Yeah. And, we get a lot of clients that come in that really don't understand the process of marketing, or maybe they're newer to it, or even with SEO, that can be intimidating. to ensure the right things are done, to not be dinged on Google. I mean, now it's very critical because there's so much competition, that you are doing the things necessary to keep within the guidelines of how they've set their rules to make sure you're not doing anything you're not supposed to. So we do all that preliminary research, so we get that information for our clients to make sure that they're successful ongoing, and we stay within the confines of what we've been told in that way too. So we are looking out for your best interests, and like I said, if you can give us or would be willing to give us the opportunity to help your business out, I'm definitely sure that you'll think we're pretty awesome too.
Awesome. Fantastic. So Chad, what's the best way for folks to find out if you are the right fit for them?
Yeah, so like I said, you can visit our URL, which is 2nvs.com. N is in Nancy, V is in Victor, S is in Sam. So obviously envious. So that's a good way to remember it. And then you can check us out on Instagram. It's one NVS Design, spelled the same way. Or you can call the office directly, 877-578-2045, and one of my team members will be happy to assist you. Our initial consultations are completely free. We want to guide you in the right direction to make sure that we are a good fit. And then from there, we can work out payment plans. We're pretty flexible, especially as of now. And we are offering a 25% incentive on our agency rate and packages for kind of a bounce back promotion because of COVID. And that'll actually go through the end of the year. So if you call in, mention this interview, and we would be happy to extend that incentive to you.
Fantastic. So we will make sure to include the phone number, the URL, all the different ways to get a hold of you guys, so that everyone listening to this interview just be able to go down to the comments below and get that information. So last question here, Chad, tell us what's been most inspiring to you during all the craziness of the past 18 months?
I think just seeing individuals come together and really support each other and try to do whatever possible to make sure that their neighbors, fellow business owners are successful. I think deep down, like, America's gone through a lot these last few years, and we were divided for so long. And obviously, I don't want to get into politics and things of that nature, but there's just a lot of division even still. And I think because of everything that happened on top of then COVID happening, it just wore a lot of people down. And so it is good to see that for the most part, I think people try to hold on to positivity and light at the end of the tunnel. We've been through a recession before. That wasn't too long ago. Hopefully it won't go that direction, but I think that helped us prepare for this a little better. I'd like to say, like I said, I never thought in my lifetime that we would see this happen, but it did. So I think it's made us stronger as a country. And I definitely feel like from a business mentality standpoint, some of the things that the smaller stuff that we used to sweat about and worry about, I think it's put things into perspective to where we don't worry about those things quite as much anymore. I at least don't. I try to focus on the things I can control day to day and try to better myself and better the agency in that respect. So it's helped me grow in that way. And I think that translates to a lot of our clients and makes them more comfortable and confident in wanting to work with us and just that next step that they are potentially going to take to expose the business to the market.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. So that does conclude the interview. For folks listening, if you've heard something that's piqued your interest, please take advantage of that offer to talk to Chad's team and learn more about them, go through that free consultation, learn how they can help meet your needs and serve your best interests. I love what he said about being more of a partner and working together as opposed to just a service provider. So again, please take advantage of that opportunity to chat with them. All the contact information will be included with this video. Chad, it's been a pleasure learning about you and your company today. And everybody who appears on the show gets a complimentary coaching session with us. So we'll talk about that offline here. And I wish you tremendous success.
I appreciate the interview. Thanks for taking the time to get to know about me and the agency, and looking forward to the future and opportunities to grow that much more going into 2022 and the years to come.
Fantastic. Well, have yourself a wonderful day, Chad.
Thanks, you too.